Across internet forums, among economists, and in doomsday prepper communities, people obsessively point to a single 1968 mouse experiment as definitive proof that human society is destined to collapse. The architect of that experiment was an ethologist named John B. Calhoun. He set out to see exactly what would happen to a population of mammals if they were given absolutely infinite resources. With the massive institutional backing of the National Institute of Mental Health, Calhoun built a sprawling research operation to test his theories. He engineered an enclosure dubbed Universe 25. Inside, mice had endless food and water, a perfect climate, and absolute protection from predators and disease. There was exactly one constraint. The physical dimensions of the pen never changed. The mice had to exist in a world where physical survival required zero struggle. For half a century, people have looked at the terrifying results of this test and asked the exact same question. Does a society free from physical hardship inevitably destroy itself? This chart shows the exponential population growth inside Universe 25. Starting from just 4 breeding tares, the colony exploded, peaking sharply at 2,200 mice before the growth stalled out completely. At that extreme density, the mice faced an overwhelming number of social interactions every single day. The basic fabric of their community shattered. This schematic illustrates the behavioral sink. Despite having food everywhere, mice developed a pathological urge to eat together, crowding a single quadrant while leaving others empty. Under this intense crowding, males stopped defending territories, either withdrawing completely or lashing out in random, hyper-violent attacks. Stressed by the constant invasions of their nests, mothers lost their maternal instincts and began abandoning their infants. Others formed a faction Calhoun called the Beautiful Ones. These mice withdrew from society completely. They refused to mate and refused to fight, spending their days solely eating, sleeping, and obsessively grooming themselves. When Calhoun published these findings, the timing was perfect. In the early 1970s, the public was already gripped by a panic over human overpopulation. People immediately mapped the violence and withdrawal of the mouse dystopia directly onto the crowding of modern cities. Universe 25 cemented a pervasive cultural myth. It convinced millions that urban density, combined with material abundance, is a guaranteed recipe for extinction. But contemporary psychologists and biologists look at Universe 25 and see something very different. They reject the experiment as a valid prophecy for humanity. The first major flaw in Calhoun's work is the difference between objective physical density, how many bodies are in a room, and subjective social density, which is how crowded the animals actually feel. This nesting box cross-section shows how space was restricted. The apartments had a single narrow bottleneck entrance. This allowed aggressive alpha males to easily block the door, hoarding the space and creating an artificial scarcity of safe nesting areas for everyone else. Then there is the genetic problem. Starting a colony of 2,200 mice from just 4 original pairs creates a catastrophic genetic bottleneck. Instead of pure social collapse, the massive infant mortality and erratic behavior were likely driven by severe inbreeding and disease buildup, which was made much worse because the researchers only cleaned the massive cage every 4 to 8 weeks. Finally, there is the total lack of environmental enrichment. Wild mice have a biological need to dig, explore, and migrate away from dense areas. Calhoun gave them a monotonous, inescapable plastic box where the only possible activity was interacting with other stressed mice. By stripping away every natural outlet for behavior, Calhoun didn't prove that a perfect utopia will fail. He proved that an inescapable, understimulating prison will drive any mammal crazy. When researchers actually test the effects of density on humans, the catastrophic pathology seen in the mice simply does not materialize. Human societies operate on a completely different level. We possess complex culture and specialized social roles, and when we experience spatial stress, we use design and engineering to change our infrastructure, which makes the legacy of John B. Calhoun deeply ironic. He never intended for Universe 25 to be read as an apocalyptic doomsday prophecy. He viewed humans as a positive, creative species. He wanted to use his findings to inspire us to overcome our spatial limits through innovative urban design and eventually the colonization of space. Universe 25 doesn't prove that society will collapse from abundance.
It proves that we are so deeply anxious about the future, we will look into a broken mouse cage and convince ourselves we are looking in a mirror.